I was sweating on my wall.
What would your ancestors say?
What do you mean?
You were so, don't you think like,
General-
don't you think she'd be a cat? Like, I can't even give you a dog breed for Sarah anymore because she's a cat. The way she just, like, what are you doing?
Yeah, you're
All right,
right.
folks, we're ready to get moving. We're here to celebrate Miss Sassaman on her journey. She's asked to do 3 questions for 30 minutes. That is to tell us who she aspired to be as a teacher, what experiential opportunities she engaged in while here at Penn State to become a better teacher, and how she prepared to maximize her student teaching internship. We're a little bit unique and different. She will have a split appointment in middle school in North Carolina, and then here in Belfont, Alaska. You'll have 30 minutes for the answer those questions, followed by 15 minutes where we will ask questions of the audience. Those of you on Zoom, we appreciate if you put your questions in the chat when that time comes. Jenny, all yours.
Perfect. So I saw a couple of you grabbed your phones already to scan the QR code that I have in the front, but that will take you to a folder in Google Drive. That's just a place where I've thrown a couple different resources that I'll refer to through today. Feel free to search through them if you want, or wait until I refer to them and then take a look at them. So as Dr. Kurt already said, we're here to answer these 3 questions that we have thought about and developed our whole time here at Penn State and through our education. So starting with, who do I aspire to be as a teacher? And I think that it's only fair to start with how I got here when talking about this. So there is a lot of things in my life that brought me to ag, starting with, I was always a kid who loved animals, and my mom, she's gonna sit here and cry, that's gonna make me cry. I was a kid who loved animals, some cute little chickens and things. I always had pets and stuff growing up. I lived on a small beef cattle farm in Selinsgrove, Pennsylvania, which is only like an hour from here. And I turned 8 years old, and my parents put me into showing lambs and then showing some beef cattle, market animals, and breeding beef. And so that's where it really started, in being involved with 4-H and getting to have some really cool leadership experiences in that, and really pushing me outside of my comfort zone. And then things took a little bit of a turn in that I got really involved in sports. And so that part of my life kind of faded away a little bit. And I was in 8th grade when my mom sat me down and she said, I think you need to schedule an ag class in or for your freshman year of high school. And I said, why the heck would I do that? I don't want to do that. And her reason for saying that was that there was a lot more to, actually my dad's reason for saying that was that there was a lot more to ag than just what I had seen in how I grew up. And so I added some other pictures on there, and some things that I've done, and some things that in the way that I like the outdoors, and I like working with people in some non-traditional settings and stuff. So they really pushed me to do that. And she also told me that I would just love the teachers there, which she ended up being very right. Valerie Fry and Kurt Swineford became 2 of my favorite people in high school. I spent more time than they probably would have liked just hanging out in their classroom and wanting to be around them. And so lots of life advice and lots of good things from them. So on this side, I'm just talking about some of the people who helped me get here, and then some of the people who helped me stay here. So obviously Val and Kurt. And then there's a sweet picture of my family, and then me and my mom up there at the top. All people who have supported me in every way through my life to get me here. And then some people at the bottom. So obviously these girls sitting here in the front are some of my favorite people on earth. And having them with me through college, all of you can't cry because then I cry. Having them with me through college has been an awesome thing, especially Miss Erica Teagarden. And if you know anything about me and Erica, you know that we probably spend like most of every single day together. And I probably wouldn't have made it through the major without her, in that Erica is always the first person to remind me when something is due, or when I need to be somewhere, or where class is, or what we're doing. And then 2 girls who graduated, Nell Barber and Mackenzie Mailer. And both of them have just been role models for me, and people that I've seen do 2 different things with their lives and with their degrees, and have done everything before me. So they're my first people to ask for advice. So, my teaching philosophy, when I think about this, I think about the way I am as a student, and that I can be a challenging student. And so how do I approach my teaching philosophy, to also hit those other students that can be challenging and have a hard time in the classroom? And that is through being student-centered and having those hands-on experiences to keep kids engaged. Collaboration is huge. And when I say collaboration, I mean collaboration between the teacher and the student. I think that's so important to really build those connections. So that builds that supportive learning environment, and then trial and error. You're never going to get anything right the first time. And maybe you do, and you're real lucky and you can keep with that, but trial and error is huge. So then there's these beautiful posters up here with some classroom management things. And I think these are also in the Google Drive if you wanted to look at them a little bit closer, but I'll kind of scan through them really fast. So procedures, expectations, and consequences. And all of these things are things that I worked with both of my cooperating teachers to develop something that I could comprehensively use for both classrooms. And they're very much aligned with the school districts and their consequences and how they go about things, and then some specific procedures and things that I would like to see in my classroom. So those are those things that you can look at in another time. And the next thing is a model program curriculum. So for this, I took the spin of looking at it in terms of like a middle school program, knowing that that is where I thrive more so, and that is where I enjoy to be. So I took the 3 different grade levels and split up how we would potentially hit all sorts of like a general ag science SIP in there with those middle school students. So and thinking middle school and thinking younger, you always take a little bit of a step back because it's giving them all an intro to get into high school and to be able to find the things that they like and really specialize in that in high school. And now we're going to talk about the 3-circle model. So we talk about the 3-circle model in classes, probably every single ed class we've had, this gets brought up in some capacity. So classroom instruction, supervised agricultural experience, and then FFA leadership. So lab integration, I brought in my $15 project, which is sitting here, if you all can see it. It's a coffee table, and in that drive is my big document that has all of the details to this project, and lab safety and all the things. So this is just a table that is a project that I had done in high school that was like an entry level, like first level class project. And a lot of students go through and do this one. But yeah, it teaches you a lot of things because it's fairly simple to do, but you get to use a whole bunch of different pieces of machinery along the way. So lab integration, classroom instruction, that's that first piece. SAE integration, this is so important in that this is where students really get to individualize their learning and what they want to focus on and where they want to spend their time. So I threw a picture on there of my SAE in high school, which I started as a freshman and ended up keeping and building all through high school, and that chicken house and all the chickens still exist. And my parents keep up with that. My dad keeps up with that. And then something else that I've been thinking about in my classroom is how I can incorporate SAE workdays into our instruction, in that being that I was a student who would have had a hard time doing like remembering to do something and remembering to log my hours and remembering to get all the things done. So then I was cramming at the end when I needed to submit my proficiency applications. Working in that time to make sure I can dedicate time to students to helping them work through it so that the things at the end are easier on them and also probably easier on me. And then FFA integration. Obviously, leadership development events and career development events are huge. And that's great, and you can get so many students involved with that. But I also think that there's a lot of different ways how FFA can benefit kids that maybe don't get quite as involved in it right away. So community engagement, whether that's right in your classroom or you're pushing students out to do that, and then leadership focus. And that's probably the biggest piece for me, in that what FFA brought to me was a sense of leadership and pushed me outside of my comfort zone so that I could take those leadership skills with me into college and with me into all of the other things that I did in high school. So that's where I really want to hit on those kids that maybe aren't as FFA involved. You still can benefit from that piece of it. So that ties right into Ag Ed for All and how to market a program and reach all sorts of students. And this one hits a little bit home for me in that I've always been told and I've always kind of said that I did not fit inside the bubble. I did not fit inside the Ag Ed bubble. I felt out of place a lot of times. And the way that I found a way to feel at home was connecting with my teacher. So as a teacher, the same way I could try and connect with students. And then when I was doing cool things, knowing that it was okay to talk about those things, it was okay to brag about them a little and pushing those kids to brag about it. And then focusing on new and different opportunities. So I feel like if you get stuck in a program and it's all of the same things, and if you're already not reaching kids in your school and you're doing all the same things, maybe we've got to do some different things to start reaching some new kiddos. It might spark their interest in a way. Yeah. So then community involvement, there is a unit in my Bellefonte placement, which I'll get to talk about my placements in a little bit, where we're working with the master gardeners of like the Bellefonte master gardeners, which because we're basically so close, that's just Penn State Extension, and working closely with them to build a pollinator garden on campus, or on Bellefonte campus. So that's in the works, and it's going to take a little bit of time and some guest speakers, but it'll be a service learning project for the students. And we're hoping for some alumni involvement and stuff to help with a little bit of funding and things like that. So that's the way that I'm involving the community during my placement. So moving on to question number 2, what experiential education opportunities have I engaged in to become a better educator? And there's lots of things, lots and lots of things. I'm first going to talk about some key courses that I completed through college here. So AE 204N, this class helped me a lot with it kind of altered the way I thought about a lot of different concepts in life. And I also had the opportunity to be a TA for this class for 2 semesters. And I think when I was a TA, that's when I started to really fully understand it more than when I did when I was a student. CAS 100, by surprise, this was my favorite class at Penn State, the entirety of Penn State. This was my favorite class. And I dropped it twice before I took it. And so I had that class on my calendar 3 times. And when I finally just took it, I loved it. So at the bottom here and linked in the Google Drive is there's like a sheet that like just has links on it. There is a speech linked that links to like an old blog post. That is my I Believe speech from my CAS class. So that's in there. And if you have time to read that, I totally recommend you do because that is something I'm very proud of. And then ANSI 201. And these guys are sitting up here giggling because they took ANSI 201 with me, and man, did that class teach me how to study. And the hours and hours that we spent over in Ferguson 214 trying to learn how to do all the things in that class. So yes, they're giggling at that picture over there, which was I don't know what time of day that was, but that was us studying and probably spending too much time doing so. Some professional development. A lot of this stuff has happened this semester. PAAE, we went to a regional meeting for them. We just got back from the NAAE conference, which was tied to the FAST program that's there at the bottom. And that was a cool time to get to meet some people from, the coolest part for me was getting to meet teachers or pre-service teachers from all around the country and what their education had looked like and what they were planning to do with it. I thought that was really neat. And then Ag Squared, which was about a month ago or so, which was a fun time to be able to gain some like materials and lessons and things that we could be doing in the classroom. And yeah, that was a great time. Work internships involvement. So this slide is crazy because as any of you know, I'm a girl of odd jobs and I'm always doing something and it's always probably going to be something different. So when I first got to campus, I met Thomas. So a cute little picture of me and Thomas, the nice one of the pictures from that day. And I became a GTAN intern, and I mostly worked on developing a research project for that. So I spent a lot of time doing that research project and the proposal for it. So that experience, as stressful and as much as it was actually such a great experience for me to understand how that happens and how you go through the steps of developing that. So eventually I worked with GTAM for about a year and did all sorts of cool things. And then eventually it was time to move on to other things. In that time, I also became a TJAG Avenger and worked with Beth some. And then I started working over in ASI with the weed science department, specifically with their grad students as an intern. And at first I was like, what am I doing here? And what is this about? And I wish that video is not playing, but I do a lot of really random things, I think, when I'm over there, but I have learned more hands-on skills and just things about like science things in general. So working in a lab and how it works to be in a lab, and then also being in like a lab greenhouse type space. So in that little video, I'm grinding up plant matter, and then they test it and weigh it later. But my task for the day was just grinding it up. And I did that all day long for a couple days. So that was an awesome thing. And then I mentioned before, I was the TA for AU204N. And that was great in that that was my first experience working with like being responsible for students and like their grades and like being the person they were coming to for questions. So figuring out how to manage like being a pseudo instructor through that. And then some other fun little jobs. I worked out at a barn at Tadpole Lane Farm. I work out at Shade Mountain Winery back home, so I really never give myself a chance to just be still. And then in the summers, I work at CM Guest Ranch in DuBois, Wyoming. And I'll talk about that in a second. And then while here, I also did outdoor school twice, which I think was really impactful, and really developed my love for environmental education and how we can incorporate that in the ag classroom, and then also open the door for me to look at that as a path instead in that non-formal teaching setting. And then last but certainly not least, I'm the president of the Penn State Club softball team, and I've been a member since I was a freshman, and that has made a huge impact on my time here. So a little bit about CM, lots to look at here, lots to take in. So at CM, my title is kids coordinator. So I was there for 2 summers. My first summer, I kind of went in blind, and I took the chance on it, and I went there, and I was a kids coordinator, and I spent the entire summer wondering, how could I make this better? And what are all the things that I would change? Could I change the program there? And so when I came back, my second summer, I vocalized that to my managers, and they took the chance on me in putting me in charge of this program. So there's a picture of them up at the top there. And they really gave me all of the freedom and all of the support. They gave me the funds, they gave me the okay, they gave me the sounding board to do all the things. And I spent weeks developing this program and writing out all of these things. And then I actually got to get kids and do it every week for 12 weeks. I think 13 weeks is how many weeks of kids I had. And you know, the trial and error, and I grew and changed through the whole thing, and the program grew and changed. And now I am proud that there is a document and a big old binder of all of the things that I did and all the things that work and all the ideas that I had that can be passed through to future kids coordinators at CM, and also it's been passed to a couple other ranches in when they're trying to develop their kid program too. So I put all these pictures up here because I will never not take an opportunity to brag about my kids. And some of these kids I only saw for 7 days, and some of them I've only seen for 14 because they came for a week. And I could never see some of them again, and I could see some of them tomorrow. But I love them all to death, and each and every one of them has taught me something different. Has taught me some kind of life lesson, and along with all the people there. So lots of things outside, lots of horses, lots of field trips, and all good stuff. And then, so Penn State Club softball, and this is something that I would not have stuck with Penn State had it not been for this team. And so they're something that I hold near and dear to my heart, and they're the reason that I love to be here. And they took a chance on me to put me in charge as their president this year. And that was a risky game, knowing how busy I was going to be senior year. But for them, I decided to do it. And it has been the best experience. These girls are like my children. They literally refer to me as mom. And I do anything and everything for them. But they also have supported me through every other aspect of my life, whether that's personal things or school things or anything. And having the opportunity to lead them has let me grow in leadership ways, but also in coaching. I spend a lot of time coaching them. I spend a lot of time managing our practice and developing practice plans and developing our game day schedules. And it's a lot of managing and it's a lot of moving pieces. And that has been so important to me, as coaching in the future is something that I would love to be able to do. So to be able to do it in a college aspect where I have 20 girls who will follow and do anything that I need or anything that I want to try has been great. So there's some really fun pictures of them up there. And if you're close to me, you've heard probably too much about them. So yeah. Okay, so certifications and my academic minor. So I'm wilderness first aid and CPR certified, and that came from the ranch. So that's a really cool thing. And Stomp, Thrive Organic Food Growing, Serve Safe, and I also have a minor in international agriculture. And my next slide here talks about global engagement, but a lot of that came from my INTAG minor. So I've actually loved all of my my experiences with my INTAG minor. The classes have been great, and the things that I've gotten to do and the people that I've met have been awesome. So as a freshman, me, Erica, and Abby and Mackenzie, she's on the Zoom, went to did AE 499, which was Teach Ag Belize. So this was a week-long, like, integrated study abroad within a course. And we saw some really cool ag things. We saw some really cool education things. We learned a lot about each other and about, all things Belize. So this was an awesome experience that I think is great to take back into the classroom. That I think there's a lot of kids in high school who haven't, maybe they haven't been far out of the state, or maybe haven't done many things. So be able to bring pictures that are not pictures I found on the internet, but pictures of things that I've done into the classroom, and give it to those students and hopefully inspire them a little bit. Probably my favorite thing from that. And then, perfect timing, how am I prepared to maximize my student teaching internship opportunities? So as Dr. Gray mentioned, I have a split placement, which has been a juggling act to figure out, but we are here and it is happening. So to start, I will be down at Piedmont Middle School, which is in Monroe, North Carolina, teaching 6th through 8th graders. They are a single teacher program in the middle school, but there is also a teacher in the high school, and newly they're starting to incorporate some agriculture related, kind of testing out ag classes through their elementary schools, which is awesome. They have some little classroom pets and hydroponics tanks, and then they also have access to all of the high school spaces, just because, fortunately, the teacher that I'm working with in the middle school is married to the teacher in the high school. So that creates a really fun time to be able to work with both of them. So students are on a 9-week rotation here. Every single sixth grader takes ag as a sixth grader. And then once you're in 7th and 8th grade, you get to choose a couple different electives. So that's like your ag, your family consumer science, band, like things like that. Brooke, my teacher who I'm working with, she really tries to keep this pretty broad for students. So it's a lot of intro to ag, it's a lot of careers, and then really touching in on a couple different aspects of ag within each grade level. So then over at Bellefonte, also a single teacher program, grades 9 to 12, a one teacher classroom. They have a garden, a welding room, and a full ag mechanic shops, like a green growing room and some animal housing as well. So you can see there what classes they're offered, and I'm teaching all but the ag sustainability and biotechnology class. So it'll be cool to really be teaching all sorts of different things along the way. So this is like the most confusing thing ever to look at, but it is also in my Google Drive. But I'll give you a quick brief. If you want to look at it, here's what it looks like. The two of these come from two different little tabs in the Excel sheet. And they pretty much just mirror each other, one for Piedmont and one for Bellefonte. But then this outlines the classes and the units that I'm teaching. And then if you were to click on one of those units, it'll bring you to a page that'll just give you everything for that class. So this is an organizational thing for me and an organizational thing for like classwork stuff too. Each of these little links, so if you click on a day, each of these little links will bring you into a folder that will have all of the things for that day. So that's the lesson plan, the PowerPoint, the lesson materials, anything random that needs to be in there. So that brings you all into it. And then from there, even it's all very interworked. And then I've got some other indicators on here to help me with scheduling. So anything outlined in red is days where we're gonna, like us Penn State students are gonna be back on campus. So I'm not gonna be there. I know I need to have a lesson or a sub plan for that day. And then all of like the days are numbered there. Within that Excel sheet is also like bell schedules, and there's a tab that's all the special dates and all of the things and the weekend things and everything. So it is all there. And it is as organized as my brain can organize it. And I mean, I think it works pretty well. So then quickly, kind of wrapping up here, I want to talk about my strengths a little bit. And this was fun to do because I actually did a little activity with the Bellefonte students a couple weeks ago, and we talked about this. And so being able to put this in my PowerPoint, have it been something I already talked to those students about was neat. So I try my best, and I am a pretty positive person naturally. I see the best in things and the best in situations. I'm a confident person. Obviously, I have no problem standing in front of people and talking. I can talk for forever. But I'm also just confident in myself and in the things that I do and the choices that I make. And then I'm also a communicator, and my girlfriends know that very well, in that I am always going to find a way to talk out a situation rather than just pushing something off. So then my goals for student teaching, this will wrap us up, is really to expand content knowledge. I think there's areas and gaps that I have that once I'm in the classroom and once I have to know the things to help the students know the things, that'll be a great point to grow, including improving classroom management techniques, improving my work-life balance, making sure I can do all of the school things and be present for my students and also be present for myself at the end of the day. Continuing to lead my team while leading in the classroom. I think about this all the time and having to adopt in all of these new little people who I know will affect my heart just as much as my girls do. So finding a way to lead them in the classroom and then also be able to lead my girls in the field. And then personal growth, always. I'm always a person that says you can grow from any situation, and I'm always gonna put myself out of my comfort zone to do something that might make me better in the end. So every opportunity you can grow. Yeah, so thank you all for being here. Yeah, I appreciate this whole experience, and I appreciate all of you that have been here to help me along the way. Yeah, we're good. Sorry about the tears.
And if you're online, we ask to put your questions in the chat. Can we get a question from the audience to get us started?
Yes, Erica.
In both the middle school program and the high school program, which class are you most excited to teach? And which one are you a little more nervous about, and how are we working on it?
The one that I'm most nervous for, the only unit that I'm teaching in my ag mechanics class in the high school is an alternative fuels unit. And yes, very different. So that has been a little bit of a challenge to figure out what exactly that means and what that looks like, because I've never taken a class on that. So that's what I'm most nervous for. But I've been reassured that the students, in a lot of ways, that class is really small. There's like 8 kids in it. Those students are going to work with me to figure things out, and in some ways might know more things than I do. And so we'll learn together. And I'm most excited for, I think I'm most excited for my sixth graders in general. I think that's such a fun age. That's like right when you transfer from being in just like having one or two teachers a day to having 7 periods in a day. So I think it will be challenging, but in general, I'm just excited to have them and to do all the things with them.
My question is around identifying one of your goals and students and challenges to expand your content knowledge. Can you identify an intentional way that you plan to do that?
I think the biggest way of doing these is asking questions. So being okay with knowing that I don't know the answers and I don't know the content. So if that starts with asking my teachers and like the teachers I'm working with, and if they don't have the answers, then where can I find that help? And whether that's finding resources online or that's reaching out to people in the community or people that I may know that work in that field. So yeah, asking questions and admitting that I don't know. Nice.
Then I think we can learn a whole lot from seeing different educational programs in different contexts. So I know that the ranch is so different than our school-based ag ed programs, but I'm curious if there are elements that you saw from how the ranch's educational programs were designed or were modified that you would love to see incorporated in the school-based ag ed programs.
Yeah, and I'm actually going to go back to that slide because I want to point out a picture. So this sweet little girl at the top, her name is Elle. And that day, Elle found a moth and she came to me with this moth and she said, Miss Jenna, I found a moth. And I was like, okay, what are we going to do with it? And she was like, well, I don't know anything about it. And I was like, perfect. So we probably spent an hour, that next hour, finding out everything we could about this moth. Where did it come from? What does it eat? What did it look like when it was a caterpillar? So we did all the things. And that has been something that moment has stuck with me, in whether it's an informal classroom setting or a formal classroom setting, finding the kids that are going to finding the thing that's going to turn the light bulb in the kids' brains and make them want to learn and make them inspired to know a little bit more. So that's one little experience that I take with me into the classroom, and there's so many more, but yeah. Can I answer your question?
I'm gonna build off of Thomas's question, just talking of that relates to all the experiences that you had. You had quite a list there. And I guess identifying some specific skills that you have seen or have translated into your practice, or how you will use those to translate into your practice in the classroom.
Yeah. I think and this is a little bit of a life thing for me, in that I've been so okay with doing all of the different jobs and all of the different things. I have appreciated how many different experiences I've had and how different they've been, and being confident to stand in front of a group of students who also have a ton of different experiences and a ton of different interests. And probably in some capacity, I've done something that kind of relates to it. So in general, those experiences let me do that. But there's some little things that have just been hard work along the way. And I'm a person who appreciates working with my hands and appreciates a job well done and hard work. And so a couple of these jobs have let me do that. And so that is something, being able to come into the classroom and have it laid in front of me and I can check off the boxes and do all of the things, so that at the end of the day, it all pays off. So, yeah. If that answers what you're asking.
We definitely have a couple of comments in the chat.
Okay.
The first is from Kay Robbins. It says a biology class that may or may not be in Selinsgrove, Pennsylvania thinks this was amazing, and Ms. Sassaman deserves an A. But we do also have a question here from Nell Barber, a recent graduate. How do you think your experiences at the ranch will connect you with the students that are traditionally hard to reach in the classroom?
Yeah, I think that is very similar to what Thomas was asking. So to me, it's a matter of finding what those students like and how I can connect with them. Uniquely at the ranch, I spend hours on end with these kids, and they are on vacation. And so, it's a balance for me to find a way to get them to learn without knowing that they're learning. And I think that sometimes you have to do that in the classroom too. Kids, they don't naturally just want to do all the things. And so if you can find a way to get them to learn without really realizing till you spark that interest and then they want to learn. And that's what I was doing every day at the ranch with those kids. And I got to know them on a really personal level. And I probably will never get to know my students as personal as I got to know those kids, but taking accountability for being able to know them that personally is huge for me too.
I'll ask the one,
Thanks, John.
curveball or slider?
Give me a curveball. I mean, that's tougher for me, honest.
So as a school-based ag educator in charge of leading and running a program, how can you sort of meter, calibrate, gauge? What are your options of feedback on how all the different elements of your program are in terms of maximizing success and that you're all headed in the right direction with your program?
So from the outside looking in, there's some testing and things that I'll talk about in our classes that we complete with students to kind of gauge that we've done all of the things. And then also looking to whether that's alumni or whether that's other organizations that work directly with our program and have expectations set for that program. So it's having those things done, and then having a program activities through FFA and such that will also have things on there that are goals that we have to meet. And so for me personally, that's kind of taking a step back at the beginning of the year and then again at the end of the year to what are the goals and what needs to happen. And then at the end of the year, did we do those things? And if we didn't, how do we do them next year? And then as far as inside the program, I talked about some collaboration earlier, collaboration between the teacher and the kids. So if there's students that need more, if there's students that are looking for more within the program and are looking for different opportunities, taking that reflection from those kids and having those conversations with them to be able to change that for future years. It's important.
Got one more. So you have been very active in the current state. And I expect you to be very active as you said, what does 5 years from now, Jenna, look like?
It's a great question. And I told my family they weren't allowed to ask at Thanksgiving. That's a great, honestly, you stand here and ask me today, I don't know. But I can't tell you a job specifically that I want to be doing, but I can tell you that I have lots of things that I want to do along the way. And I hope that in the process of that, I will find something that I want to stick in. So hopefully by the time 5 years is up, I have done all of my other odd jobs that I would like to do. And I have found one that says, hey, this one is like a life job. This one isn't just a for funsies job. So cross your fingers that 5 years down the line, I find that one. And I think that I will. I think that I will. But I also, I never like to tie myself down to things entirely too much. So to sit here and tell you that 5 years down the line, I'm going to have specifically this job and me in this place just doesn't seem right to me because it could change next week and something could happen tomorrow that makes me think, oh, I actually could do this instead. So always changing. Ask me next week.
And I have one,
Uh-oh.
not a question, but if you go back to your CM slide. Can you talk a little bit about what you developed with and I can ask this only because I know what you did there, I know what you plan on doing with student teaching, but you have a slide down there at the bottom with the fishery. So how you
Oh, yeah.
connected learning at the ranch, the local hatchery, and then how your plans on tying that into your classroom.
Yeah. Oh, I love talking about this. So my first time at the ranch, I met somebody at the fish hatchery, and the ranch is on Fish Hatchery Road. So the fish hatchery is literally on the way. It's like a quarter-mile walk from the guest cabins. And we started talking, and they were like, we love when people come visit. We love when kids come visit. And so I came back to them that next summer and I said, and what if we made a dedicated day that it was every Tuesday afternoon. Every Tuesday afternoon, I was going to pack up all the kids, whether that was on horseback or whether that was they're marching their butts down there. And we went down to the fish hatchery and we fed the fish, and we talked to the people that worked there and learned a little bit about the growing process. So they saw fish all the way from real tiny little fingerlings and eggs inside in the buildings all the way up to these big old pools, which had fish up to like 2.5 years in it. So that was really cool for me too, because I got to watch those fish grow all summer. So I spent so much time with those people and talking to them and learning a lot from them. And it is all trout, mostly trout there right now. So when I am at Bellefonte, I will have a trout in the classroom program and tank while I'm there, which I'm super excited for. We had one in my ag program, and then my mom also has one. So that has been a part of my education for a long time. And weird little niche about me, I love streams and I love macroinvertebrates and I love all that stuff. And so stream health and trout and how those work together. And then I'm also incorporating some hydroponics when I'm down at the down in North Carolina. So taking all those pieces, and probably what excites me most in the ag and environmental natural resource world, putting all those things together. And it was really cool that I just happened to have access to a hatchery when I was at the ranch to be able to do that with those kids. And then this was our gold panning day, which was funny. They got to hunt for, don't tell them, but it was fake gold. And but there was lots of times in there where they were flipping over rocks, and all of a sudden there was this weird creepy crawly, and then I got to use my brain to tell them all the things that I knew about those creepy crawlies. So lots of learning there, but being able to take that into both classrooms, that's really cool. Probably my favorite part of all the things, where I nerd out a little.
That's a great place to end. Jenna. You can join me in congratulating her one more time? For those